Oh, also,
Got to
don't
the
forget
point where the
to
guy
stream in Discord
decided
this
it's time
time.
to jump.
Right, you're right. I should stream to Discord. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bad Fanfiction Night. For some reason, I almost forgot what it was called. I just woke up from a nap, and so I am really disoriented.
Oh man.
Check your settings.
All
That's
right.
gonna
What?
be fun. Thank you,
What year
Robbie.
is it?
I'm glad you got the reference.
Yep.
Well, mine is medically induced. All right, I'm weaning myself off of a particularly nasty atypical that really it messed with my sleep schedule, something awful, and I am still recovering.
Among other side effects, like when you first got on it, didn't you mention that you were like smelling maple syrup constantly?
Are you trying to make a joke that I'm having a stroke?
So that's
No.
toast. That's completely different.
Then what's maple
Yeah.
syrup? What if you smell maple syrup?
Well,
what-
it's a thing you put on
Canadian.
waffles.
You
Clearly.
mentioned it. You mentioned it on like one bad fanfic night, and then Twilight down here said something Canadian.
Yeah, clearly I've been in your room.
Wow.
Do you want that implication hanging there?
I mean, Twilight Guardian.
Clearly
It's not
I've been
gonna-
stealing your shit.
I mean,
He's been guarding the
Master thief.
room, bro.
All right,
Well, you have to-
fair enough.
she's in your walls,
You
man.
want to take over your tired? No, I'm not tired anymore. I just had the nap. I'm just a little disoriented. It's fine. It's fine. Do not speak to me of Ruby. I know it's cringe and stupidity, Twilight. That is great.
I was there when it was written.
Not
Do
literally.
not recite the
unfortunately.
holy text.
Epic Master
I will
popping out
care.
all the new emojis. Robbie with the Robbie, why did you
Every time I
retract that?
start
That was
movies, they
good.
put all
I
of
thought
them.
it disappeared for me. There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was a weird error on my part.
I like putting all of them. It's fun.
Yeah, I love all of the new emojis. And remember, if you yourself are a member, you can use every single one of the emojis. I put a lot of work into them, making them awesome. For whatever reason, just the fire one doesn't animate like I had hoped. So I just didn't bother trying to animate any of them, and they all still look great. But yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to Bad Fanfiction Night. We are your cast maple syrup smell. Well, thank you. I now remember. I am now remembering all of my mornings from middle school when I would have waffles as my breakfast.
You're welcome.
And I would
my
smell
God,
maple
waffles.
syrup the entire morning until I got to lunch.
Twice.
Twice.
Well,
walls.
at,
She's in the
Well, at least
goddamn
my-
walls.
nice to know that my dumbass joke is making you.
How many channel members do I
Reminisce.
have? Well, if you ask him that question, not enough. I would love to have everyone be a channel member.
No, Robert, you know what to do.
Oh no! Don't give him
Oil
orders.
money.
But yes, welcome back to Shadow of the Conqueror. Ah, there he is. Stand ready for my arrival, Birdman. And hello, Joe that hates. I feel really bad for you because you gave us that big donation on Tuesday. Said, hey, I'll catch the VOD later. And it gets copyright struck.
Oh, no.
I put in for an appeal, which means that in 3 or 4 more days, it should either be back up or I've got a strike on my channel. So
Fingers crossed for you, man.
yeah.
Oh,
Damn.
Here's
shit.
How do I become a channel member? There should be a join button at the bottom of the page.
If it's not there, then look on the actual YouTube channel. For some
Be a
reason,
joiner.
it
Do
doesn't
your
appear
part.
sometimes.
So why was your OMP stream unlisted for? Yeah, I just explained that. You had a really sad day today. I saw that. What's up, Alex? Everything okay, buddy? I hope it improves. Get lucky when I'm throwing out memberships. Yeah, that there's also that option.
That is a good.
Is it already
choice.
back? I haven't checked whether or not it's. Let me pull that up actually.
I haven't seen it back. No, wait, it is back. Right there.
back.
Okay.
That's showing
It's
up for
back.
me,
It's
so-
viewable, but it's not monetizable. What are the details here?
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh no.
Okay, so the
What did
appeal
he
is
get?
still underway. It expires in 5. So for some reason, they just let it back on the channel. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, false alarm. False alarm.
Well,
We
not
didn't-
false alarm. It
we
actually
didn't
did
actually-
get taken down, but like that's
It
just
did get
weird.
taken down.
But only for like a little bit.
The Joe that
Like,
hates.
can I ask?
Congratulations to all the people that got caught up in the membership blast there. The Joe that hates just dropped on everyone.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
You know, for a man that's called the Joe that hates, you're a very loving and compassionate person.
He just hates
Very
certain
generous
things.
and benevolent. I gotta
He
say.
is the Joe that hates non-members. That's why he gives everybody
is
memberships.
ironic.
That is true.
Yeah.
He is
I-
trying to
That's a good
genocide the non-memberships on the channel.
Exactly.
If I had the artistic talent
Extinct the
with
gray
his-
names.
with his first super chat, have someone draw Joe that hates. It's just like, I'm so lonely. I only have, like, I don't even have a name. I only have a purpose to give out memberships.
Also, can I ask real quick? So, what's the reasoning for the copyright strike? What?
We watched One
were
Piece.
watching
on
One
stream.
Piece.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Yeah. Which
For
we
a
did it.
second,
We
I
did
thought
it
it
with
was
very
for-
clear regular commentary. We actually, I think, did it pretty fairly as a commentary and reaction. But all the same, it was still relatively untouched visuals that got claimed. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad someone asked because for a second I thought one of the bad fanfiction night streams got copyright striked, and I was like, "Damn, okay, Shad, that's
Oh, that would
wild."
suck.
yeah, no, that would be
that would-
hilarious, and I'd be making videos about that. Be like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
God, that would be
Imagine.
amazing.
That would be open
Like,
invitation.
He copyright.
Wow.
Oh my god, you copyright strike him, and then you make a bunch of videos about it, and then you like pretty much break even.
I
And
was gonna
then
say, if
some.
Shad copyright struck me on these videos, my God, it would make my career.
He would not.
Yeah,
beat
that would
the
be
allegations.
hilarious.
Every
It would
day,
be so
I pray that Shad copyright strike one of my videos.
Yeah.
It's gonna.
God.
Award.
And if
God,
oh, and,
please have Shad mauled.
Oh, and Shad, if you're listening, go ahead. It'll go real good for you.
Nah,
Yeah.
now he won't do it because he knows we want it.
Well,
It hasn't stopped him before.
well.
I gave out over $500 of memberships, and I miss him every single time. That is so sad.
He always misses your boy
Dedorex.
Neptune, Dedorex, and
Here.
me.
Let me.
It's hilarious.
Y'all are friends of the show. You're fine.
I know.
There you go.
Yeah, I still can't use any of the emotes though, even though those emotes, some of them are me, because I am not a member of the channel. I am a mod though. I'm not a member. Being a mod
mods
doesn't
not
make
use-
me
Oh
allow me-
damn!
Man.
I just
No,
gave mod
no.
status to I know nothing. Damn.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping that would.
We're about
be
to have a
good.
class scandal here.
No, that's fine, man.
Well,
I'm 100% just joking. Please do not stop throwing memberships to hit me. You've done enough. I swear.
but yes. So we are in chapter 3 of Shadow of the Conqueror. In the last 2 chapters, we got to know our good buddy Dalen. Who is Dalen?
Yay.
He is the former dictator of this entire setting, who apparently felt so much remorse that he went into seclusion, but everything was so much better when he was in charge, except that he was a horrible monster, even though everything was so much, better when he was in charge. Except he was such an awful, evil person, but things were definitely better when he was in charge. You might be noticing a contradiction here, and that's because Dalen doesn't seem to have any outlying, character other than to basically be saying that I was actually a really good guy, but I did awful things, and I feel a little bit guilty about it. It's called non-member genocide.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't forget, he's the bestest swordsman ever and
Yeah, he's
super
the-
smart.
yeah, even though he is old and frail and is literally his entire body is falling apart, he can still beat a young, sprightly guy with no effort. Well, with some effort. He has to use his magic to reinforce his body because he can do that and there's no drawback.
He needs a pocket
No, I
medic.
think that was someone else reinforcing his body. He just
Nah, that was
It was the Lightbringer.
that was one of the skills
And
he
that
unlocked
still
in his
wouldn't
tree.
help.
No, but
It's
he
not
also,
his
I thought he
magic.
also reinforced himself with magic himself. Like he did.
No.
both.
Thank you.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
It was just a Lightbringer heal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Lightbringer's
just a
OP.
heal spell.
It's the
Yeah, I know.
author showing favoritism to their character to where it creates contradiction. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so Neil, you have no idea how accurate that is, and trust me, it's gonna get better.
Can next round
For
of
me,
emojis
not
include
everyone
one
else.
of the bird being slapped with cash? I would have to get an image of that. Most of the emojis so far have been pulled from images that I've collected through the years at this point. I would need to actually make that, but that's not a bad one. That would actually be really funny.
No, it's better actually. It's the Joe that hates loading a shotgun, but he's putting gold coins into the trigger.
Oh, fucking the crow style.
Style jumping.
The swords
Yeah,
and coins?
exactly.
No, sorry, not no. The crow was golden rings. No, that was Mila Jovovich style from
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 or 5.
Sounds 5. I don't.
I
remember
want
that.
to say, well, no, it would have been 4 because 4 starts with all the clones getting wiped out.
Yeah, we know that
Huh?
you will legitimately pay for it, Joe. You have more money than God. We get it.
Imagine being rich.
Wait, wait, what if he is God?
Oh my God.
Then
God.
I have several questions.
Yes.
I have to quote my
What
character
is meaning
Levy
of
and
life?
Jakes from the tabletop game that I played. I just pull out a scroll that just unravels. So I have a list of complaints.
Okay, so it's a bad, stupid joke, but what was it? Sky Knights? I can't remember, but the main character talks to basically a god who can tell the future, and he goes like, "Do you have any questions?" And she goes like, "Actually, my crew have a lot of questions. They made me write them down." He reaches into his pocket and pulls out an entire notebook.
Okay,
Beautiful.
well, Raymond, does he feel bad about the mass unconsenting of women? I don't know yet. Actually, he hasn't mentioned. He has mentioned it happened. He has not
He
mentioned
has
anything
mentioned
about
doing it.
Yeah, he hasn't mentioned anything about his opinions on it. So we'll have to discover that as we go. But basically, it all led up to him taking a short walk off a long walk off a short pier into the sky to try and eliminate
Long walk
himself.
is very correct. God damn.
Apparently, when the Darkstone touches the teleportation barrier, boom!
But
We got Michael
basically,
Kramer to narrate. That explains it.
yeah, it's going to be bull crap. We all know it's going to be bull crap.
He's going to explode himself.
Let's let's find out what happens to the sad old man that totally was better when he was in charge of the world. All right.
Time to see him explode.
We have 31 pages in this chapter. We'll see. We're just gonna play this one by eyeball. I feel like we can keep track of where we stopped to some degree, but there's 31 pages. We'll try and stop at the 15-page mark. And try and swap over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 3. But I loved many things my parents didn't approve of, like dueling. I was brash and eager to prove my strength because of my fragile self-esteem of youth. Besting others in such a socially praised art bolstered my confidence and arrogance to phenomenal levels. Then the shade rose up, casting night on the land. Needless to say, my skill with the sword become most useful.
Self-edited, people.
Yeah, totally a smart move, Chad.
You want to know my best part about this?
What?
I have a highlighter, and I put in the A for that word. Just to fix my because I read over that several times. Like, wait a second, and then I was like, there it is.
I was 16 years old, but my age didn't matter. Sounds about right for you.
What?
When night fell, everyone fought, my
Wow.
parents included. Fought, my parents included. If that night was to be the prophesized final night where the world would end, at least we would have fought to stop it. For those born after the fourth night, and I would assume that's most people who read this, it was an honor I wouldn't wish on any man.
Horror.
Oh,
Honor?
Horror. My bad.
Yeah, that's
That was a me. I'm not even gonna put blame on Shad for that one.
Nah.
Wind rushed past Dalen in a torrent as he fell limply, his body slowing and rolling with the air. He was weak, but okay, I'm sorry. You need to understand that in my mind, I'm just imagining this old man like Gmod ragdolling, and as he's falling, you're hearing the Doppler effect of "You spin me right around, baby, right around."
I personally thought of Emperor Palpatine. Of just, too weak.
Don't kill me. I'm weak.
Oh, wait, no.
Oblivion.
Oh, Yoda, you old sponge! Death is an invention of the Jedi. I shall now heal my broken body.
Take a while,
Taking a while, isn't it? Shut up, you. All right.
You be quiet.
To do. Dalen had fallen through the sky many times in his life. He was weak, but he still made sure to hold the dark stone tightly between his two fingers because he needed it for some reason to be out in the open. Dalen had fallen through the sky many times in his life. Such was the training for any man who served on a skyship, and he knew how to control his fall. The issue was that he just didn't have enough strength for it. Indeed, the buffeting winds made it harder to breathe, and Dalen had enough trouble with that regularly, except when he didn't. He clenched his teeth as his aged, weary body cried out in extreme exhaustion and pain. "I'm not going to die before I reach the barrier," Dalen told himself angrily. Anyway, the pain was a mere fraction of the punishment he knew he deserved. He should feel pain before his death.
First of all, fuck off. Second of all, like, does it really matter how you die if you die?
Why do you hate yourself? Why do you feel guilty?
Can I answer?
No.
No. Hold.
Good.
Hold, brother.
Wait, I thought you would use Dedirex's art from last stream for the thumbnail. I completely forgot.
Yeah.
That was
my
also
art.
found mine funny. So I mean, thank you for the Claire Redfield gift, Darth Ravenwood.
You know that the only reason why he's doing it in this particular way is because he has to do it for the drama. It has to be the most dramatic death ever because he is just that important and that
bye,
great.
Joe.
Oh, bye, Joe.
Bye.
Take care, my
We
man.
feel very loved by you.
Yes, indeed. Writing is drier than the Gobi. Yeah, okay. That's true.
The wording of anyway just feels so weird.
Yeah, it really,
like,
it's like,
why?
anyway, death.
I'm
like, you were fine with just the pain was a mere fraction of the punishment he knew he deserved. That's fine. You can leave it there.
I'm just sitting here just like it's like it was painful and it was trouble. Dude, I've skydived before. It's very relaxing actually.
Well, I mean, I guess the argument would be that he has, like, you know, arthritis and shit in his bones, and it just the movement and the force against him hurts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Also, like, I imagine, I know how to control my fall, and I'm like, are you a video game character? Can you just do that thing that video game
put a
characters
pin in
do?
that.
Asking yourself that a lot.
Okay, a pin in that.
I'm kind of surprised his bones haven't snapped like Slim Jims at this point.
Yeah. Like I said, Gmod Ragdoll. That's what I'm imagining right now.
The more description we get, the more I just expect him to turn to dust before he ever reached this point.
Okay, well we're spending a lot of time here. Let's try and get to where he dies.
God, if only.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah, the side of the continent raced past him in a constant blur, yet it would still take some time for Dalen to pass it. The continent was 100 kilometers thick at the thickest part. 100 kilometers at the thickest part. That is how you phrase that. Not thick at the thickest part. I mean, it's technically not wrong, but it's really annoying. And look, he spells thick with 2 C's, man. Anyway. He knew a man could fall at most around 200 kilometers an hour, so it would take about an hour and a half from the past Telos, the mighty landmass from which he had fallen. It would take another 9 hours to reach the barrier, the invisible point where a man stopped falling to the base of the world and fell from its top. Dalen closed his eyes and surrendered himself to the wind, which slowly carried him farther away from the land. All he had to do was survive until he reached the barrier, and then it would finally be over. What isn't the point to die?
Ever fall to death.
What does it matter if you die before you reach the place you want to die?
The drama.
Wait, also, didn't he just mention that if he touches the barrier, then he just gets teleported right up to
apparently the
skybox?
stones that he's carrying has some weird
upon
effects.
touching the barrier.
Like the
If he-
stones he's carrying.
they detonate on contact. Okay.
Well, so if you fall through the barrier holding Lightstone, something happens. If you fall through the barrier holding Darkstone, something happens. He wanted to hold both at the same time
Because
no
apparently
one
no one's
knows
done
what'll
that
happen
before.
if you do
He wants-
that.
He wants to extra
He wants
die.
to commit chaos.
Anyway,
Dying like a normal person does not dignify a serial rapist and conqueror, but
zero.
I told you, the
Digress.
drama.
Let's move on.
Drama.
Dalen's body burned with fatigue. The air was heavy and the temperature hot. It was all he could do to keep the hold of the Darkstone between his 2 fingers. The fact that he still held the stone meant that it hadn't been 9 hours yet, the time it would take to reach the barrier. Light, it had felt like an eternity. Why didn't you just put it away until you needed to take it out again? It's not like you have anywhere else to go. The wind above you could. Why didn't you tie it to your hand or something? Just don't. You don't have to be gripping it, you fucking drama queen. The wind had buffeted Dalen violently, especially when he fell into a stronger current without warning. The stone Dalen held would disappear once he passed through the barrier. Some speculated that Darkstone and Sunstone were absorbed into the body when passing through and acted like a poison, which is why they killed the bearer. Dalen knew he had to be close. The air pressure and temperature were far greater now. The barrier had a level of resistance to things passing through, like molasses being pushed through a sieve. This made the air thicken at the bottom of the world, and temperature much warmer. As gravity pushed it through and made the air at the top very thin and cold, which created a pressure, temperature, and differential according to altitude. That sentence was a fucking mess. Am I the only one that am I having a stroke? This made the air thicken at the bottom of the world and temperature much warmer as gravity pushed it through and made the air at the top very thin and cold, which created a pressure. I
think it's worse for you because you're trying to speak it out loud.
Low,
I mean, if it makes you feel better,
well, that's the
makes you
rule,
feel
isn't
better.
it? Like if you want to be a good writer, one of the best rules you can live by is read out your sentences as you're writing them.
Yeah, that is a basic tenet
it is.
of being a writer, is to read your shit out loud.
No, that doesn't happen. Also, Celtic, if it makes you feel better, I'm currently sitting here in my chair with the book in hand, drinking with pinky out. I am being far more dignified than thee.
Actually,
But I'm also
You're
reading
enjoying
along
it.
with this.
it's not
I'm reading along with
punctuation,
this.
Isa. It's the fact that he has like 3 different clauses in the same fucking sentence.
Yeah, it's the clauses that have the issues.
Because of this, no clouds ever drifted nearly as low as where Dalen had fallen, but rather remained much closer to the top, which from his point of view still looked to be beneath him. His line of sight passed through the barrier, allowing him to gaze down on the world where clouds speckled the sky much further below, even though he probably shouldn't be able to see through the cloud barrier anyway. The thick air pressure made Dalen's whole body feel like it was in a vice. The heat was already unbearable, and his breaths came in with great effort. He could feel his mind drifting to unconsciousness, but it wasn't sleep that would meet him there. It would be death. The fall had taken its toll on his body. Dalen held on to one thought as he pressed his hand into his shirt, making sure his sunstone pendant was touching his skin. Don't let go of the Darkstone. But he wouldn't last much longer, and though he tried with every ounce of strength left, a part of him didn't care anymore. Dying from the fall or the barrier, it was the same in the end, wasn't it? No, Dalen groaned. I'm going to die the way I choose. Technically speaking, dying by falling is the way you've chosen, so...
Yeah, you chose to jump off the cliff. Anything that happens after that, that's your choice.
Yeah, you dedicated to this course of action, my friend. But his body might not let him. He didn't hurt as much. Not a good sign. No, actually, here's the thing. The fall, like the air pressure actually massaged out a lot of the kinks in your body. You're actually feeling a lot better because you're feeling a lot better. Surprise.
Soon he's going to be dead because of the stones.
Be great. Oh,
And he's
the fall healed me.
Yes. Wait, he's been
Subtle
falling for
therapy.
9 hours?
It's a
Yes.
hell of-
Yes, he has.
Okay. But his body might not let him. He didn't hurt as much. Okay. Dalen closed his eyes tightly and tried to endure, but his body was failing. He could feel it. His consciousness began to fade, but Dalen knew he wasn't falling asleep. This was the final fall into death. Actually, it'd be a pretty good rock song name. He had failed, but even in that, there was relief. Finally, death had come. Finally, he could rest. A force hit Dalen like every part of his body had been kicked at the same time, and the dark stone disappeared from his fingers. The shock of the impact and sudden freezing temperatures brought lucidity and a sharp snap of awareness. Dalen had hit the barrier and had felt the stone disappear. And I didn't die. Bam, bam, bam.
It's just gonna be the story.
God, who could have seen that one coming?
Who could have
How long
seen
did
the
he
cover
fall?
of the
Were you
book
killed?
coming?
Unfortunately, yes, but I survived.
Did he say how long
Yeah.
he was falling?
9 hours.
9 hours.
I have been falling for 9 hours.
And this is just,
Yeah, that's just to hit
from the
bottom.
cliff down to the bottom
have been
barrier,
really
or has he
boring.
been passing
Yes.
through the barrier multiple times?
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
from the cliff to the barrier.
Yep.
Okay.
It's taken 9 hours to fall there.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
The shock of the no! Dalen had thought as the dread of failure froze his heart. He spun about in the air as he looked as he fell. He had let go of the stone. Had he let go of the stone by accident? No, he hadn't felt it slip out of his fingers. It had just disappeared, like he kind of knew it would. Dalen grasped his chest to feel for his sunstone pendant under his shirt. The small brass fixture holding the sunstone to the cord was there, but the pendant wasn't. It had disappeared too. Dalen then realized something that should have been extremely obvious, but with his sudden shock, he hadn't noticed until now. The chilly air was very, very thin. He could feel his breaths draw in little oxygen. It was such a contrast to the painful pressure he had been enduring only moments before. Dalen had passed through the barrier and had been touching his sunstone, if not also the darkstone. And I didn't die, he thought to himself again. He looked to his hand in shock, confirming that what was already obvious. The stone was gone, and yet his hands looked different. There were no sunspots or wrinkles. Smooth, clear, strong hands were at the end of his arms that felt sturdy. Dalen realized that since the stones had disappeared, he hadn't been forcing his breaths to come, even with the extremely thin air. Dalen breathed in deeply, trying to get more oxygen into his lungs, and was amazed at how easy it was, even though the thin pressure gave little oxygen. Dalen's lungs were definitely working better, as good as they had ever had, in fact. He hesitantly touched his face and felt no wrinkles, no haggard, loose skin. In fact, he felt a strong jaw and a smooth face. Hesitantly, Dalen raised a hand to the top of his head and felt hair, thick, plentiful hair that flapped in the wind. He pulled a few strands out. Even amidst the flails from the battering winds, Dalen could see the strands were dark blue. Fucking edgelord. Somehow, as impossible as it seemed, instead of dying, he had become young again. This was a cruel joke. Dalen had finally reached the end of his life where he could have been released from his guilt, and at the very moment when the blessed end had come, his life had instead returned in full. A tease of release and then a stab through the heart. And you're to blame. He gives love a bad name. No, not a joke, Dalen thought suddenly. A punishment. This was the punishment he had chosen for himself ever since coming to truly understand the magnitude of his crimes, to live with a self-loathing guilt. And now it seemed the light agreed with him. His punishment was to live, for what else could have done this to him but the light itself?
Hit the ground, you edgelord.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, you're okay.
You're going to turn into a very squishy pile.
Yeah,
soon.
you're going to be a very, very thin fucking young person in a few minutes here, or hours, I guess.
This sounds my calculations were wrong, and that he's not been dropping for 5 million kilometers.
Excuse you?
What?
I'm assuming that this world has the same gravity as Earth, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, if your calculations
Oh my gosh! Holy
No, I see the math.
What the-
I see it.
Wait, no, he said the falling speed that he had, and if that's not normal Earth terminal velocity, then he isn't on a planet, or whatever this is, with Earth gravity.
I don't know. This world
I
makes
don't
no
know
fucking
either.
sense to me.
Just assume he's in the Imperium.
Does he not have a sword? No, he literally left it behind because reasons.
Because he couldn't, he was too old to lift
Too
it, and then
heavy.
he lifted a sword anyway.
I feel like I know everything about this universe and nothing at the same time.
Yes.
Should have just brought a knife just in case he somehow survived so he could just stab himself in the heart.
He could have just picked up a knife and, done it at his home, but,
Dude,
Yeah.
Or turn himself in.
Yeah, to do. But did it really matter? He was falling, and the wind currents had already carried him several kilometers away from the continent. It was true that an inward wind could carry things back over the continent, but that rarely ever happened, and when they were cast away with an outward continental drift, Dalen would fall for eternity and starve to death. But then why hadn't the light just let him die as he passed through the barrier? The only possible answer was worse than he could imagine. The light wanted him to live because it was the worst thing that could be inflicted upon him. It was what he deserved. And the worst part about it was that knowing the light's chosen punishment, if Dalen was truly sorry for his crimes, he was obligated to do everything in his power to see it done, even if that meant trying to survive the fall. Dalen was many things, but never a coward, and thus he would accept every lash pronounced upon him. Not for the first time that fall, Dalen wept. Oh no, I get to live!
What logic is this?
I get to live as a sexy, hunky young man!
He was many things, but not a coward after he
Don't-
hid away
Wouldn't he
in
die of
his
dehydration
house
first?
for 20, 40 years.
So don't. Meta knowledge here. He's 17.
That's why I posted that picture.
I'm just going to say this.
Like the
I am
hit movie,
cursed with-
17 again.
And I am cursed with life, youthful, vivacious life, the physical ability to recreate my crimes. Also, still falling.
Again, it's very literal.
It took a long time for Dalen's sorrow to dry, and even longer to steel himself to the reality of life. Of course, that still left the problem of falling to his death. Hopefully that would still happen, but first Dalen had to try and prevent it. Okay,
Why?
because he thinks that his god is telling him, hey, you have a punishment, and so I am obligated to see it through, so I have to steer myself to try and survive, but hopefully I still die in my trying.
I'm just going to say this. If this is truly
so-
what-
This man isn't not suicidal anymore, he just feels like he has an obligation.
There's a
Also,
stupid.
keep in mind, the only reason why this is happening right now is because he decided that he wanted to die extra.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, there's a stupid little Bible story that I was told when I was a kid. It's short, don't worry. But there's a guy who's drowning, and a fisherman comes in and is like, "Do you need help?" "No, God will save me." The fisherman leaves, and then a ship comes over and is like, "You need help?" God will save me." And then he ends up drowning. And he talks to God, and he's like, "Why didn't you save me?" And then God says, "Who do you think sent the fisherman in the ship, you idiot?"
I don't know if that's actually a Bible story because I don't remember. It's just
not a
really
Bible
fucking
story.
funny.
I'm pretty sure it's just
It's
a
not.
Christian parable of some sort.
It's a parable. It's a parable. 100%. I just misspoke.
Same difference.
The most real.
But yeah, so Jesus Christ, this is okay. Then and only then would Dalen know it was the light and not himself that had ended his torment. Giving up and but you tried to end it yourself already. And you had no possibility of knowing that you would survive this, despite anyone and their mother have someone try this before.
Can this
I absolutely
motherfucker?
love-
Can this motherfucker not just spin his wheels for 2 seconds and pick a fucking lane?
I do love how it's, this is a phenomenon that we haven't observed before when it comes to crossing the barrier with both a light stone and a dark stone. This is something that is just unknown to science. No, he automatically thinks, this very specific circumstance is my God telling me that I must live out my punishment instead of just using its godly powers to do the exact same thing anywhere else, any other time of my life.
Ugox would accept any punishment
Unironically,
thrown
the
at him,
most
said the man
accurate
that attempted to
religious
self-delete. No contradiction there. No. Yeah, no, exactly. Okay, I know nothing. Zero. Answer for me this question.
What up?
I know that Darkstone is actually a pretty common thing in this setting. How common is Sunstone?
Oh, that's an I know question.
Okay, so a great question for another book, because things made out of Sunstone are supposedly super rare and super important, and Darkstone is everywhere. But I don't know if Sunstone is directly stated and how plentiful it is. It's
actually, I think
here
it's
and there, everywhere.
It's very common to see a lot of things made out of Sunstone. I do remember that, even though he does say, no, this is pretty rare. But like,
it's back. The issue with it is
So
that
it's like a precious mineral, but like not so precious that the common person wouldn't find a way to get access to it if they had enough cash.
It's more. Hey, the new iPhone is out. Nobody else has it, and then you walk down the street, and then there's like 10 people with an iPhone.
It's closer to say that. Well, he says it's rare. Then a lot of things are made out of it. So
yeah,
it's very contradictory. I can't give an answer because it's so contradictory.
To put it into very simple terms, it's a rarity.
I just wanted
like
to
a
ask
video
that because,
game.
like, obviously my thought goes to someone would have fucking tried this by now. We would have
100%,
no
yes.
results.
It's like a diamond. Everyone says that it's rare, but they're actually very common.
Izanagi, oh my god, Shad, why couldn't you have just done the reincarnation method of Mushoku Tensei? Why the hell didn't you have to be extra? Because not even I have heard of Mushoku Tensei, Iza. Aside from what you say about it.
I think that's one of the first isekai things.
I don't care.
Have been created.
Iza is just obsessed with isekai.
I love me a good isekai,
Shad
but
has
like,
really watched it.
all right. Giving up and letting himself be killed when he would have been prevented. It was cowardly as ending his own life to escape the light just as punishment. Giving up and letting himself be killed when he could have prevented it was as cowardly as ending his own life to escape the light's just punishment. Just like you were just fucking hell.
Wait, didn't he just say he wasn't a coward?
Yeah, exactly. This is a completely It's not that the character is hypocritical. It's that the entire book is hypocritical. Every element is self-contradicting.
Like, there's times where contradictions can work. Like, contradictions like that can absolutely work. He's just going about it completely wrong.
Dalen growled in acceptance, forcing his faculties awake. He had to at least try and survive. Unless he fell into a new current that blew him back over the continent, his only hope would be if he fell near a trawling skyship and got their attention. Then, as if by providence, Dalen fell into a new wind which blew in the opposite direction, pushing him back towards the continent. Okay, Shad, just because you hang a lantern on something doesn't mean it's not still fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I am flabbergasted. Dalen could scarcely believe it. If this rare and ever so timely wind wasn't a sign from the light, then nothing was. Countless people had fallen from the continent before, more by accident, of course, and unless they had been pushed, which was known to happen. Several procedures have been put in place to prevent and save people from the fall. For one, every edge-side structure or village had a large safety nets constructed several meters below to catch those that fell. Dalen could try and land in one of those nets, but it would be hard to hit them from such a height. Still, even if he missed, the net would have a good chance of being... Even if he missed the net, he would still have a good chance of being noticed by someone as he fell past. If that happened, the people would try and dispatch a skyship to scoop him up, or throw a skimmer down after him. And if none of that happened, Dalen could try and stop his fall by grabbing the thick side of the continent as he fell past. That would be damned hard when falling at terminal velocity, but it was something. No, not damned hard. Damn near impossible.
Your hand would come off.
Your arm would pop out of its socket, if not just rip off entirely.
No, see, he's young now. He can survive.
That's not how this works.
You
Yeah,
need
yeah, it is.
magic to
Absolutely.
survive that, nitwit.
I just feel like terminal velocity kind of counters a lot of these safety measures. I don't think the net's meant to handle a human being traveling at
I would,
this speed.
I would believe that the nets are actually built for this. But then the question is, if they're built for this, why are they so hard to hit?
They're only built for
When you
people
make
that are
those
getting
things incredibly
tiny.
easy, when you have massive,
These-
like, sprawling networks of nets, like huge chunks of sky netted off to save people that needed to be caught, wouldn't you
Yeah.
do that?
You'd think.
It's literally nothing but net. That's how it should work.
Well, I mean, I could imagine like limitations of like how much are you going to dedicate just to have a place.
We've gone from you spin me right round down to the Gmod fall, and he hits and he's come on and slam.
Welcome to the jam.
No, Celtic. Aim for the bushes.
There goes my hero.
Hero is legendary.
All right. Where was I? Shit, I forgot. Dalen needed to measure his descent to reach the edge at the same time he reached the surface. If he overshot it, he would find nothing but an unceremonious union with the ground. It was going to be tricky, but the light seemed to be willing to lend an unwelcome hand. This was an all-light blindingly hard to swallow. Life, after being so ready for death. It would take months to truly come to terms with it, but things were the way they were. At least he had his new body. Dalen clenched his fist and relaxed his muscles to test their strength. The energy of youth filled him. Aside from the soul-crushing reality of his punishment, physically, Dalen felt incredible. Better even. His senses were awake and sharp, no more dulled by age and fatigue, and the glorious sunlight embraced him as if he were immersed in a warm bath. But he had never felt anything like that before. Dalen could feel the light as if it were a physical thing. He was touching it with his hands. It was like he could grab hold of it if he wanted. It felt amazing, like the warmth one feels when embracing a loved one. Dalen wanted more of it, and tried to close his fingers around the light. Of course, nothing happened, as he couldn't just grab the light. I love the idea.
Or can he?
We actually zoom out, and he never actually made it to the cliffside. He collapsed, and he's just having a hallucination as his body slowly shuts down.
That would be amazing.
Don't tease me with a better time.
And then this book would be over in like 3 chapters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't matter, for the light felt wonderful, and Dalen happily let the enjoyable sensation distract him from his bitter sorrow. Dalen stretched out, controlling his fall as he had been taught to do so many years ago, the light seeming to immerse his whole body. He breathed in deeply, wanting to take in this incredible feeling, but this time, as air filled his lungs, light flowed from inside of him, filling his body. Energy surged inside. Somehow, that feeling on his skin was now within every fiber of his being. It felt wonderful, and Dalen wanted more. He drew in more light, which caused it to push on him from the inside like it needed to go somewhere. I am so tired of this description. You got. If there's this many safety measures like those just made me doubt it even more he was the first one to try what he did. Exactly! Celtic, that would be the best plot twist ever. No, it would just be the most relieving one.
I mean, Derex is good art, so...
Okay. What does it say? I am cursed with life, youthful, vivacious life, the physical ability to recreate my crimes. Also still following.
It's
the speech you gave.
It's the stop to like hand on chin that gets me.
It is great. I will have to use that one.
Stupid, and yet I love it.
Didn't matter for the light, felt wonderful. Energy surge. It felt wonderful, and Dalen wanted more. He drew in more light, which caused him to push on the inside. It felt like he needed to go somewhere. Hesitantly, Dalen drew in more light, and as he did, the pressure grew until it began to hurt. This might not have been a good idea, Dalen thought to himself. Dalen tried to breathe the light out, but it didn't leave. He tensed, pushed, and stretched his limbs, but nothing happened. And then he farted.
Oh no!
Okay.
The pain. I'm kidding.
What?
The pain grew.
Alrighty then.
Could I put it in something else? Could I put it in something else? He thought. Not release it back into the world, but into something like I brought it into me. Dalen looked around, but there was nothing even remotely near. He grabbed his coat and tried to breathe light into it. Nothing happened. Pressing his palm into it and even slapping it did nothing. Part of him wanted to draw in more light to see if it would tear him apart, but Dalen would fight to live as much as he hated it. If life was what light had inflicted upon him, he would embrace it and make sure to meet every measure he deserved. Dalen groaned, trying to... I'm sorry, I'm being distracted by the gifs. How long have we been falling? God, I love that movie.
Why?
It's such a good movie.
Oh.
Nah, I'd land.
Oh my god, wait, is that what he looks like?
He has blue hair.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's Gojo, but with blue hair. But no, he does have blue hair.
What he actually looks like is just
look
Shad
at
with
the
blue hair.
first
I mean, what?
Doing of this story, and you'll see what he looks like. It's literally the thumbnail.
I have no idea what he's fucking talking. Like, his logic involving this light is bizarre. Part of him wanted to draw in more light to see if it would tear him apart, but Dalen would fight to live as much as he hated it. Blah blah blah. Like inflicted on him, he would embrace it and make sure everyone measured. Dalen groaned, trying to think of a way to release the light. He looked about as though he thought in a vain attempt to see anything that could give him an idea. His eyes straining as they gazed down at the land far below, barely visible through the clouds and blue haze of air. Suddenly, Dalen felt all the light inside him flow into his eyes. His vision became amazingly clear. He could see things at an incredible distance and make out details at least 10 times as minute and fine. The giant continent was still very far beneath him, stretching out in the distance as far as he could see, which right then was very, very far. Dalen was awed by the sight. Then his vision returned to normal, all the light in him gone. Dalen couldn't believe what he had just done, let alone what had just happened to him. He was young again, though how young he didn't know until he could see his reflection. And on top of that, he had this strange new ability. What'll happen on this week's sitcom? Falling to my
Question.
death!
Question. Did he somehow become like a light bringer because of this?
Yes, he did in fact become a Linkara character.
Congratulations for saying that, by the way. Put a pin in that. Did he become a Lightbringer? Put a pin in that.
Hugox, member for 1 month. And still falling while thinking all of this. Yes, and still falling. The Stones!
Yes.
Sorry, I gotta give him a young voice. The Stones! Dalen said in the realization. But stopped at hearing his own voice. It was muffled by the wind, of
I
course.
think that's still a bit too old. Try a bit younger.
No, because he is young and youthful and full of vibrance. And of course he's going to sound like this the entire time, because he's a man.
Don't worry.
I think more try to make him sound like a 5-year-old.
Don't worry,
Mock him.
Twilight's childish
Twi's
voice
voice better.
Yeah, that's
I like
my
Twi's.
job.
I like Twi's.
I like Twi's better. Fits the
thing is,
character.
I had the Saw
sound like
voice, but I can't do anything. I guess I could give him Cactar voice. Because everyone loves
I'm just
Cactar.
looking at the
Just
gift
don't give
of,
him anything deep.
I just have the gif of Harry Osborn playing, and the first thing that comes to my head is the Friends theme. I feel like that's playing in the background.
I would love to watch someone fall past me past a cliff and
Also,
just the Friends theme play. It's just like, what the fuck happened?
You
Yeah,
just
it's
hear a
gotta have
Doppler
the
effect
Doppler
zoom
effect,
past
too.
you.
Okay, I'll give him Cactar voice. The
Raymond, you
Stones,
sounded like
Dalen said in
you
realization.
sounded like
But he stopped at hearing his own voice. It was muffled by the wind, of course, but it had still rung in his ears. It hadn't been old and croaky, but young and clear. I haven't heard that voice in years, Dalen thought. The strange must have happened because he had been touching both a Darkstone and a Sunstone. Could that also be the reason why he'd become young? He doubted it. There was too much poetic justice in the transformation for it to have been by chance. The light had a cruel sense of humor. But touching the stones might have been the thing that enabled him to feel the light and draw it into himself. I'm
it
sorry.
really is.
The only
crying.
strange
Stop the
phenomenon that happened to you is because of the apparently rare occurrence of having a Darkstone and a Sunstone on you at the same time, and you're dismissing that and saying that it was God that did it. But then you're saying, oh, it's because of this that I have this magical eye ability.
No.
My brain
He's
hurts.
brain dead.
This
Man,
is
that's
pretty
not a sense of
standard
logic
religious
in
stuff. You get
both.
used to it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Even the white pants. It
Oh,
feels
I'm
good.
sorry. No. I've been to church and it is not nearly this dumb.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doubted it. There was too much but touching the stones. Had anyone else discovered this? Dalen could understand if they hadn't. It was a fact known worldwide that passing through the barrier while touching one of the stones would kill you, just like knowing the bite of a judderbug was poisonous. So who in their right mind would knowingly touch both? Well, Dalen, as it turned out. Yeah, apparently in thousands of years, you're the only person to have fucking tried this.
You have no idea how crazy certain people are to.
I
test
would
this
have
type of
tried
shit.
this if I were an old, decrepit man. My entire thing, like, oh, I'm dying.
I just
Fuck
want to
it.
point, he's essentially
Yeah.
just discovered the secret to eternal life.
Yeah,
Well, like, yes.
This is a standard world thing too. Of like, you see this in every single time there's portals. If you could go down one way and pop out the other, people are gonna be doing that shit for fun. Like,
yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
get like theme parks themed after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would literally just be a thing. Parachutes would have been invented far earlier in this universe because
Yeah,
everyone
you
would
know
be
what?
jumping.
You know what? So I forgot. They get consumed. They got consumed, yes, but still.
Both of them did, yes.
You can't
Yo,
do
boy
it
Neptune,
fully
I'd
forever
cast
because
brain
it
rot, but I
can
think
be
we're all
an
afflicted.
exhaustible resource.
Dude, I have
Oh.
been.
Can you
I'm
give
even
me
blanking
extra
on the name
Scarlet
of
Rot?
the freaking spell
That's
I'm
why
trying to think
casting
of.
is my thing.
No, but true.
Uh,
the Mythbusters would have thrown like a fucking pig down there with them like strapped to him.
Yes.
Well, it's just simple stuff that you would test, like this whole, oh, everyone knows you would have died. Dude, do you have any idea how crazy humanity is when they're bored?
Dude,
There would-
everyone knows
there
that
would
you
probably
die
be
when you
some-
fall and splat on the ground, but people still go bungee jumping. Like,
You
Didn't the
you
pre-
are a
didn't the
genocidal maniac.
prequels to-
You are the person that like apparently raped and pillaged his way across the entire. Are you telling me you had and you're apparently very scientifically minded? You were interested in this shit. Are you telling me you didn't strap two of these to someone's body and chuck them off the
Try
edge?
it. Why didn't he try with any of his subjects? Discover it's basically an immortality machine.
Dude, if
and then
I
be
were a
like,
genocidal
I'm going to
maniac,
create
I'd
an
be tossing
immortal
people-
army and be immortal.
I was gonna say like one of the chief things of a lot of the genocidal maniacs of the 21st century is they use the people they hated for scientific experimentation. I don't approve it, but like you were a fucking dictator, dude.
More than that, by the
We
way,
learned so much stuff
let
because
us
of
let
these
us
people.
let us cast our minds to the ancient Chinese emperors that did lots of things to people in their employ just to see if they could achieve immortality by drinking mercury.
And then
Yes.
there's Genghis Khan.
That
Okay, wow.
would more quickly kill.
Anyway, let us continue. Hesitantly, Dalen drew light into himself once more and tried to channel the light into his eyes. It worked, and his vision sharpened briefly and then returned to normal. Dalen tried again, but this time continued to draw on the light as he channeled it into his eyes. His vision sharpened again, bringing the world into remarkable focus, and this time the clarity remained. It seemed that, for as long as he drew in the light, he could channel it into his eyes, and they would be empowered by it. But could he channel the light into anything else? His crotch just starts to glow.
dude,
God damn.
dude.
That is
Honestly, I would.
any man.
Honestly, I want that to happen.
No,
As
you
opposed
don't.
to-
No, I don't.
No,
You
no.
do not.
Your crotch,
That would be
your crotch is
funny.
glowing. Please seek
No,
medical
no, you
attention.
guys don't understand. I am so fucking sick and tired of him mentioning the eyes, the eyes. Like, can he put
Just
that?
say the sword.
The eye of his purple-headed warrior. God damn it, I can't escape this thing. Anyway, but he couldn't.
What to make a secret kill list of eyes?
Guys,
Galen stopped drawing in light, and his vision quickly returned to normal. He'd drawn the light again, and this time channeled it into his ears. The loud torrent of wind became deafening. Screaming, Dalen covered his ears and stopped drawing on the light. Okay, not such a good idea. But it had worked. He could channel light into other parts of his body. Still falling through the air, Dalen tested his strength, and though there wasn't really anything to test his strength on, he did feel stronger. He tried his nose next and was amazed at how dusty his coat smelled. Could I do more than one? He wondered. Dalen drew in light once more and this time tried to channel it into both eyes and nose. His vision sharpened and his scent became keen. He could smell the dirt on the soles of his shoes, and the air had sharp, damp scent that was nearly overpowering. And we will swap there.
Yay.
Oh shit!
Lightning stiff.
Someone wasn't prepared.
No,
Don't
I'm
blame
never
her.
prepared.
For
What was the last
instance,
thing?
he could smell the dirt on his soul, on the soles of his shoes, and the air had a sharp, damp scent that was nearly overpowering.
Yeah.
Halfway through
Okay,
40.
Daredevil.
Halfway through 40.
Okay.
The page, I mean.
That doesn't help me. I'm not using the same thing that Raymond is using.
Fair enough.
It's also not halfway through 40, it's halfway through 31.
You guys are at 31? Wow, I'm on 40, man.
Different mediums
Dalen-
have different pages.
Okay, shush. Dalen tried to add another path for the light, and then another. It stopped at 4. He could bond light to 4 different parts of his body.
Oh my god, there are 4 lights!
Bond, Dalen thought. To bind light. To light bind. That's the very name of the power the Arknights possess. Do I have the power of the Arknights?
Remove the pen. Sorry.
Yes. Stupid.
That should have been impossible. Because a person was supposed to make the knights pledge to fight evil for the rest of their lives in order to receive the magic. It was the same way the Holy Lightbringers received their powers after dedicating their lives to helping others. Why did you say all that?
Sure, bro.
It sounds like he's trying to do like D&D Paladin type shit, but forgetting half the stuff that goes into D&D Paladin lore.
Yeah, like not being a genocidal dictator. I think that's like the bare minimum you need to clear.
I think what he's saying is that basically what I'm getting from this is God, light, is tasking him with, you must now correct your wrongs, and here is the thing that I'm going to give you to do it. Like, that's basically what I'm learning from this. And it's like he's being forced into it. It's basically like, it's more of an oracle, really, from Pathfinder, where it's forced upon him.
How dare you? Because
Why must you sully this?
No, I'm trying to finish my character sheet here, man.
That was a happy little byproduct.
People had speculated there might be other magics in the world that would come from different oaths and lifelong dedications. None had been discovered. So far, there were only 3 known magics: light bringing, light binding, and light blaring. The last being the power of the shade. What Dalen was doing certainly fit the description of light binding, but he hadn't made any vow. Many years ago, Dalen had sent spies to try and discover how the knights received their powers. All he had found was that they had performed a ritual, called a vigil, on the ceremonial skyship that flew toward the sun. He was never able to get a spy on the ship itself. If that skyship crossed the barrier during its flight, Dalen might have finally discovered the real way that they received their powers. But they certainly didn't become young from it. Indeed, that many initiates died from the ritual. Still falling, but now with greater control, Dalen tried to test his powers again. He had seen one knight fly once. Such an ability could prove most useful in Dalen's current predicament. He drew in light and tried to channel it into flying. Nothing happened. Maybe they flew through manipulating the element. Not the elements, just the element.
Ah, yes, I manipulate the element of zinc. I will fly now.
Zinc flight. Initiate.
Dalen tried to push the light into the wind. Nothing worked.
Maybe the knight had flown through manipulating gravity? Dalen tried to bond the light to gravity, but not really knowing how to except to will it. Again, nothing. Dalen had seen Arc Knight call down a storm of lightning once that had destroyed a whole fleet of skyships. His skyships, in fact, during the Empire War. Dalen didn't exactly want to strike himself with lightning by accident, so he skipped to that one. Useful. That was such a useful thing that we needed to know. Thank you.
I love how he's doing all this, still completely mid-free fall. It's really annoying for some reason. It's like, you shouldn't be able to concentrate on this shit.
I just want to see him, like, at a desk free-falling, but still, like, writing down notes.
Yeah.
X, you have your next assignment.
Adding more lore and experimenting with magical power as well in free fall is an interesting narrative choice. What's an interesting narrative choice is the fact we've been in free fall for this entire chapter.
Yeah.
By the way, this chapter still has a lot more pages. By the way,
we're still
we're
still free falling.
Don't disgrace that good
this
song.
Don't ruin it.
Oh dear Lord, get to the point.
Right.
Yes, Isa.
Don't worry, Isa.
Let's see. In any case, it appeared that Dalen could only bond light to his physical abilities and senses. If it was in his body, it seemed to work. Perhaps the Arcanite's power light binding manifested differently from night to night. Most of them generally seemed stronger and faster than the average person, but he had only seen a couple do the lightning trick, while those same knights never seemed to do anything other knights could, like lift a wagon or move incredibly fast. Maybe each knight could only bond light to one thing? But if that was the case, why could Dalen apparently bond light to any physical attribute?
Because he's a special little boy. That's why.
Wait, so he said attribute instead of body part like he did before.
So, Zero, can you put a pin in that?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to.
How many pins do you have?
I have 5
He
right
is
now.
the pin boy.
I have 5 right now, and trust me.
I was going to say,
grow.
freaking...
It was a special assignment I was given.
Thank you, Robbie. Holy shit, that's a glorious gift.
Take the pin.
I was going to say...
Brilliant, my dude.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, sir.
Doug Bradley is over here like, man, you have too many pins.
I have more to give.
We both came prepared.
Look, he is a book, but his cover is just a pincushion.
Clive Barker's like, damn!
Clever.
Yes, it is.
Oh, where was I?
Let's just get and put it into the conversation. Boop. Oh my god! Thank you so much.
The constant rushing wind brought Dalen's mind back to what was happening around him. He was falling. Yes, we know. And all of the power in the world couldn't count for squat if he became a smear on the ground. Yes, we know.
You had an entire paragraph about this.
You were trying to smear yourself.
Oh my god,
before.
Deaderex.
What's changed?
Deaderex, how dare you? Because that's how fucking hilarious.
Yeah, please get on with it. Die! Save yourself! Do something! Please!
With the continent so far beneath them, it was hard to tell how close he was to its edge. It seemed he was approaching at a good pace, but he was still too high to make out a village or town.
Well, I have these powers now, so I might as well use them,
Dalen thought and bonded light to his sight.
Oh,
Everything
Shark
became
Walrus,
so
thank
much
you for the
clearer.
5 gifted memberships. Hope everyone enjoys the emotes. They got
Oh
caught.
yeah.
Yes, Overhype, and we are still falling.
Let me just stop.
I have been falling for 30 pages!
Take some Cloudstone onto yourself if you can find some. Do anything!
He's a Kingdom Hearts character.
Wait. All right, I got a prediction. He's gonna bind. He's gonna bind the light to his legs and just tank the fall damage.
He's
That's
not
what
a
he's gonna
Kingdom
do.
Hearts character. Kingdom Hearts
No.
characters eventually fucking land.
They do.
Yep.
It's true.
It was like, well, it was like he could zoom in and see things clearer than they were. With his enhanced sight, he quickly found the closest edge-side village. Close was a relative term. It was very far from him and against the wind. He had already overshot the side of the continent and now fell toward the solid ground.
When did that happen?
Thank you,
Some
Snowy
point during the
Spider.
fall, apparently. Lovely stuff.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
It's being.
I love it. To be accurate to the 30 pages.
Oh my god, I didn't even prove that, but you did.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Lightning.
I don't know what's better, the fact that Lightning did that, or the fact that I'm imagining him doing this stance as we go through the pages.
Right. He's pulling the stance. It's canon now.
Remember, this entire time, he's been making the face of those people that, like, you know, the ones when, like, you have air blasted in it and your lips are being, like, forced back and your eyelids are being... That's the face he's making throughout this entire sequence.
Is this fake?
Exactly, that.
Speed and power.
Yeah! Power!
Power.
Let's see here. I accidentally moved a page, so I lost my place.
Take your time.
Whoopsies. It was like he could zoom in and see things clearer than they were. With his enhanced sight, he quickly found the closest... Oh, yeah, I read that.
Well, that ruins my plans, Dylan thought.
Yeah.
The last thing that you...
Yeah, I was just about to read it.
Okay, I'll leave them.
Be careful.
I appreciate you trying to help. I will say that.
Don't worry.
Damn.
Let me laugh. Come
Well,
on.
that ruins my plans.
Dalen thought, and surprised that he had disappeared.
Anybody?
And the surprise that he felt disappeared. Sorry. Even though he wanted to die, surviving this fall was a unique challenge Dalen had set out to achieve, and he hated losing.
Pick a lane.
Anybody else feel like he thought there was a sitcom laugh track right there?
Like, okay,
Like-
here's a question. Is there a reason you want to actually follow the God of Light after being so horrible as a person? You're already probably going to hell for what you did. What's the point of trying to, like, say, oh, I have to do this now? I'm confused by what you want out of life. We don't know anything about you other than, like... We know your history. We don't know you.
Well,
Put another
Celtic,
pin in that question.
Celtic, you have to understand, actually, the plot wants the main character to win and live, so he shot.
Fucking
Yep.
hell.
He already
Yes.
failed at dying, so now he's not going to fail at landing.
Check the chat.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save this, actually.
But from the time that he had formulated his plan to land on the edge net, he had discovered some significant things, such as these new powers. So, could he use them to survive the fall? He could bond light into attributes of his body, like the strength and senses, but could he channel light into more specific qualities, like his ability to heal or his weight? Though Dalen had only seen a few Arknights fly, most could jump great distances. Was it by manipulating their weight that they were able to jump far, or was this due to brute strength? Dalen cautiously drew in light and tried to bond it with his body's weight with the intent to make himself lighter. Nothing happened. Thinking, Dalen remembered that weight itself was a result of gravity and that he had already tried bonding light to gravity. No, if he wanted to affect his weight by altering an internal property, he would need to alter his mass, not his weight. So Dalen tried to will the light to... He drew in to infuse his mass with the intent to reduce it.
And he implodes.
I just also have to add, like, the difference between mass and weight is irrelevant when dealing with one's own gravity.
I'm just going to throw out something Zero is only going to be knowing in this chat. I prefer Caliburn's layering.
I prefer everything about Caliburn to this.
Thank you, sir.
So-
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. A thing I will throw out as well. He also said body parts, not mass, when it came to bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dalen suddenly fell. Dalen suddenly fell faster, but with a great burst, a strong gust of wind smacking his face. But then Dalen felt his velocity decrease significantly from the wind pushing back against him.
That was weird, Dalen said. Why did I get a sudden burst of speed?
At least apart from the initial anomaly, the final result was that was what he expected. He knew that gravity didn't pull on him any less. Gravity pulled on all things at the same rate, regardless of their mass. But with less mass, he was effectively lighter, and therefore the drag from the wind affected him to a far greater degree, causing him to fall slower. The very same reason why a feather fell so slowly.
Okay, so that's not entirely true, because you need to remember that objects themselves also exert their own gravity. So they are themselves exerting gravity against the object they are being pulled towards, the larger one. Now, you can talk about how that's an incremental sliver of difference, but it's the accuracy of the statement and the fact that you're using magic to try and survive. I would think the devil is in the fucking details with this.
Yeah.
He could have
do
just
not-
been, expanding how much
Dedorex,
skin
yes!
mass he has overall. So he's just turning his skin into a parachute.
Thank you, Dedorex. That is
brilliant.
That is far greater than anything I imagined. Thank you so much.
That's lovely. Also, good speed lines.
It's perfect. Oh my, it's just perfect.
Perfection.
This motherfucker don't miss.
His weight must have changed significantly to produce such an effect. Light, his body felt like a sail on the wind. If he reduced his mass like this, and then increased the strength of his muscles, bones, and fortitude, he might actually survive hitting the ground. It was a risk, and one he would probably hurt like a bastard, but it might work.
Amazing,
Dalen said, able to hear his voice much better now as he was falling at a slower rate. Light, he sounded like a pup. Dalen stretched out his arms and legs, creating more drag, and this slowed him even further, almost to a gentle drift.
But at this rate, it'll take 2 falls to reach the ground, unless it works in reverse.
Dalen tried to switch the path of his light from reducing his mass to increasing it. Suddenly, the wind blowing on his face increased. For a fraction of a second, he had stopped in midair, as attested by his clothes, which whipped down. Then he fell and gained speed rapidly. Very rapidly.
What in Light's End?
Dalen said, trying to understand what had happened. He was moving fast now, very fast.
Which is
But
heavier,
why had
a kilogram of darkstone or a kilogram of feathers? That's right, a kilogram of darkstone.
Because it can become spatially locked.
Oh no.
But why had the initial decrease in mass slowed him, and the decrease in mass given him a momentary burst of speed? Maybe increasing his mass was like trying to pick up a boulder from the ground while running past it. If his momentum wasn't enough to overcome his new mass's stationary inertia, he would be brought to a standstill before gravity accelerated him.
That's it,
Dalen said in realization.
The new mass has no kinetic energy.
What?
And now...
What? Okay, Shad, okay, remember when I described with the Darkstones and how, hey, if you turn on the light, they will literally rip a hole in anything that's moving around it? Remember how you made that a whole point? Take that and multiply that by 12. You are adding new mass. It doesn't, and it has no kinetic energy. That means it only has potential energy that will then become kinetic when the kinetic energy is ripped from it.
I am just with Aiden with his comment of how the fuck does that work?
I don't. My brain is like cracking.
You
right
will
now.
never know.
Mr. Knight, Shad sure does love over-explaining his bullshit magic system, doesn't he? Imagine if we had a physics lesson in Harry Potter.
I was going to say, like, what era is this timeline supposed to be? Like, what?
Fantasy.
Oh, what
Final
era
Fantasy
is
has
this?
bullshit.
What era is this supposed to be? Put a pin in that.
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, there's so many instances of pins.
Getting real.
Cause, man.
This is going to be so much worse than Arcane.
Oops,
Correct. Correct.
Getting real tired of you blue
Also,
balling
thank you, Ravenwood. That's glorious.
You're welcome.
You have okay, guys. Remember, I have read through this book twice before we started this.
Yes, we know.
And now, because Dalen had far greater mass, shush your faces. And now, because Dalen had far greater mass, it took more wind resistance to level out his acceleration from gravity, meaning his terminal velocity was much lighter, and he fell faster than before.
This is how I can survive the fall, Dalen said, but he had to do it just before hitting the ground.
Wow, this feels
Dalen
worse than light
straightened-
novels. How does Shad manage to make something worse than those? I don't know, Isa. It's impressive.
It really is.
Make sure you press circle just before hitting the ground to negate fall damage.
Here, pin
Oh
this.
my god, that's what this fucking is! Oh my god, it really is a fucking shitty video game all the way through!
I came looking for
animation
isekai
counts.
sword
You touch
fights,
the
and I
ground.
found pseudoscience.
Dalen straightened his body, reducing his drag and increased his speed dramatically. Now he would complete the fall much faster, easily by half. Dalen steeled himself and let gravity do its work. Hours later, Dalen didn't know exactly how long. The ground finally came close. Having fallen past the clouds, he was now under their cover, and found himself amidst light drizzle. With his new plan, Dalen had let himself overshoot the edge of the continent by a large degree. Beneath him, cultivated fields of grass and trees stretched out as far as he could see in all directions.
So to do the trick that brought me to a near stop, I need to return my mass to normal, or make myself lighter, then increase it again just before I hit the ground.
Dalen reversed the bond and reduced his mass. He was suddenly given a huge burst of speed. The wind resistance hit him like a wall, so much so that he was sent into a flailing spin before he leveled out to the gentle drift that he had intended.
I have an important question. Where does the mass go? Chad,
Don't ask questions.
Does
light
Chad not
dimension.
understand that one of the fundamental aspects of physics is that that mass can't be destroyed?
Shush.
It goes into the light, good sir.
Shush.
So you're talking a
He
one
does
to one
not
energy
care,
conversion.
thus you should
Okay.
No, I'm pulling shit out of my ass. You never find out.
Okay, good, because if we did, it just basically would. He is breaking several rules of reality without realizing how much not even magic can explain this shit.
Ravenwood,
I was
I'm
about to
saving
say-
that as well.
Raymond, it's magic. It doesn't need to be explained.
Magic.
I predicted you were gonna say it, huh?
Hitting that wind resistance had not been pleasant. It had blackened hurt, like his whole body had been slapped, not to mention the stomach-churning spin it had induced. Dalen rubbed the side of his smarting face.
So, if I'm already moving, increasing my mass will slow me, and decreasing it will accelerate me. And I hit the wind resistance like running headlong into a wall. Altering my mass while not moving should do nothing. All good to know.
God,
hell.
even his dialogue is fucking exposition-y. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, and it doesn't help that he's basically doing, like, the explanation in stereo. I don't need to hear this shit twice.
Yeah.
At least the voice makes it funny.
Thank you.
I mean, Twi's voice is great, so
If I was
we
falling
need more
over
of it.
Dalen, I would slap him.
We'd all slap him.
Dalen-
That's fair.
Dalen stretched out his arms and legs and let the wind slow him. He eventually leveled out, gently drifting through the air. The ground was very close now and seemed to approach faster as he fell. Not that the speed of his descent was changing, but now that he was closer, Dalen could determine with more accuracy his speed, and he was falling far more quickly than was safe. Taking a breath, Dalen braced himself, watching the ground race towards him. He had to switch his mass right before hitting. Closer and closer he came, like a picture constantly increasing in size, and then just before hitting, Dalen switched his bond, increasing his mass instead of decreasing it. It was like he came to an instant stop, about 2 meters from the ground. His jacket whipped down, but he felt no whiplash on his body. A fraction of a second later, he began to fall again from a velocity of nearly 0. He landed on all fours with a heavy thud, his hands and feet sinking 10 centimeters into the ground. He had survived the fall. Yeah, is that like hard ground, or did you sink into mud?
Wait, also, wait a second. Wait. How did the instant deceleration should have pancaked his ass before he then fell?
No,
like,
that we've already been over this. Yes, basically, it shouldn't be pancaked. His muscles should be ripping themselves off his bones.
Look, just everyone look at Robbie's GIF.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's about what should
How
be.
Dalen survived.
Minus
How
explosion.
dare you? How dare you, Lightning? Of course, Royal Guard would survive this kind of fall, but how dare you put it up to this?
Don't give Dalen Royal Guard, man.
Nuclear.
Dude, we didn't give him Royal Guard. Shad did.
I don't even think Shad knows what it is.
He doesn't need to. If he did, he would give it to Dalen. Izanagi says, "Oh dear God, tis worse. 'Tis feels worse than Mycan's walkthrough exposition."
I think Izanagi.
They're both awful in their own way.
Because of how bad this is.
I don't want to call one worse than the other. They're both pretty bad.
Mycan just copy-pasted stuff from walkthroughs, and Shad is writing all of this on his own.
Yep. Although I'll actually save that my comment for his writing after we finish this chapter. But here's another. We just stopped before the immense stupidity. Holy shit.
Yep.
He had survived the fall.
That's just wonderful,
Dalen thought with his agonizing sarcasm.
I fucking hate Dalen.
Oh, shove it! Oh, shut up your ass, you bum!
Mr. Knight says, "I think the reason why Shad over-explains everything is he has some bad movies pull crap out of their ass when he is vastly overcompensating." Yeah, and that's the crux of it, is like, so things under-explaining have created a whole host of people over-explaining, and balancing it out has become really fucking difficult for a lot of people. It's really sad.
I'm just glad
This is the second time we've seen this. This is Shad writing this book, and this is Jeremy CinemaSins writing his book.
I'm just glad I had a reasonable editor. Like, holy shit, for Caliburn when we were explaining the magic. I think Zero can attest. Like, I did not go into this much detail because you didn't need to do this.
He didn't. Like, it's a personal thing. There were moments where I was like, all right, I want to get back to the story, but you were reined in. You were reined in greatly.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. The power of an editor.
Yep. Dalen stood and released his bond of light, which returned his weight to normal. He felt no increase or decrease in his velocity, for he wasn't moving. The inertia of his magical mass and his regular were once again in sync. Dalen had achieved something rather impressive. He had beaten gravity. He had fallen a whole height of the world and landed unassisted. No, that wasn't true. He had a great amount of assistance. Supernatural assistance from magical powers. Dalen looked to his hand. It was smeared with dirt, but youthful and strong. He gazed about. He had landed in the middle of some uncultivated grassy field, patches of small shrubbery poking up everywhere, and the trees spotting the rolling landscape. The cloud cover moved under the sun, periodically casting shadows, which sent chills through Dalen's body. That his clothes were damp from falling through the drizzle didn't help. Dalen wanted to see his reflection. He had seen a lake from above that shouldn't be too far from where he had landed, so he began walking in that direction. Once he crested the nearest hill, he saw the lake and discovered that not too far from above meant a few kilometers on the ground. Still, he made his way to it. He had to know.
Just power yourself up and rush there.
Yeah. Also, like, why do you need to look at yourself in the mirror so badly?
He's got to know how hot he is. Come on.
He needs to describe himself for the reader, so we know what he looks like now.
Either that, or he probably looks like this.
Pins.
What I imagine he looks like. That's amazing.
Like, he already knows that he's young, so there is no real reason for him to need to look at himself in the mirror so badly. It's so funny.
I guess he just doesn't remember what he looked like when he was 17.
Eventually he arrived at the lake, having walked with the singleness of mind. He knelt to gaze at his reflection. A familiar, youthful face, one he had not seen in decades, stared back at him. It was his face, his real face, not the one that had been marked and soiled with age, but the one that he had grown most familiar with during the length of his life, if a little bit more youthful. He looked to be in his late teens. That's a very stupid thing to say. What do you mean, your real face? All of that was your real face. Shut up.
Your real face just got old.
When you get old, you get a new face.
No, guys, I want everyone to imagine themselves at 17. Is that what you looked like for like the peak of your life?
No.
Brother,
I hope not. Dear God.
Brother, if I want to know what I look like at 17, I'll just shave. Like,
oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Okay, Dragon Ball Z, I want to hear this.
I don't. Twice, please continue.
Yeah, this is entirely text. Don't worry.
You can play devil's advocate later.
Was he going crazy? If so, this was one black and realistic delusion. Dalen turned and walked up a small hill to a secluded tree. He sat next to it, leaning back, with a magnificent view of the wild countryside before him, and there he stayed in silence for a long time. By the position of the plummet, he was now several hours to the time Dalen had fallen from the ledge of the last fall. His known fall had ended up being much quicker thanks to him increasing his mass, with his walk and reflection making up the rest. Oddly enough, he didn't feel tired even though he hadn't slept for more than 24 hours, but his mind didn't dwell on that. Apparently, Dalen had the powers of the Arcanite, and he was young again.
So, now what?
Dalen said softly. He had only chosen to end his life because he had been falls away from dying anyway. So it has nothing to do with the fact that you were guilty. You're just like, well, I'm gonna die in like a couple of weeks or years anyway. Might as well get it over with.
So this man regrets nothing. Good to know.
No.
Such an endearing character.
I did.
Oh my God!
What I really
does
hate
not.
is that
Finally, we have an answer.
I can imagine a much more like compelling character so many times over. Like the image of him after having survived this fall, just sitting down under a tree and staring out at the landscape, realizing he has a refresh on his life, but knowing all the sins he's committed, and sitting there almost paralyzed in the abject reality of like, I have a second chance to make things right, but now I'm terrified by the prospect of how hard that's going to be.
Like, oh my God, and the
Celtic,
1,000-yard
this is
stare.
because you are a good storyteller.
May I just add one more thing? I must add, congrats, you're young again. You now also closely resemble the world's most hated man.
Oh, you closely resemble the world's most hated man.
To be fair, that's apparently not going to be an uncommon occurrence.
No.
He had only he had
Shush.
no such excuse anymore. Another whole life loomed before him, and it was almost too much to bear. Wasn't 20 years of exile, misery, and regret enough? Even though he felt more depressed than he ever had, his mind still ran the numbers. He looked around, 17 years old. If he was going to live as long as he already had, that would mean he had 65 years of life left, looming before him. Dalen cradled his head in his hands with the thought, Oh, light! It was a 65-year sentence of misery. And what should he do at that time? Live in exile like he had before, helping people where he could with his natural skills and letting his guilt eat away at his soul? Dalen raised his hand before his eyes and gazed at it. He had some new skills now, possessed far more than a natural inclination for tinkering and mechanics. He had power. Such a dangerous thing for someone like him. But the light would not have given him these abilities if it didn't expect him to use them. A tiny glimmer of hope sparked in Dalen's heart, and even though it was small, his heart had been devoid of light and hope for so long that the feeling nearly made his chest burst. Tears came to his eyes. Maybe he had been given a chance to do some true good in the world. How poetic that it would be if that good was achieved by destroying darkness of the very light that he had spread throughout his life. A purpose was kindled in Dalen's heart, and it slowly grew into a fire. No! Dalen said, jumping to his feet and beginning to pace. I've been down this path before. Last time I set out to make the world a better place, I enslaved it. Dalen walked back and forth, battling with himself. Just a little oopsie doopsie.
Woo.
Oh my-
Dalen's an idiot. He should not be called Dalen.
I swear to God, if you say ooh woo, I'm leaving.
Idiot.
Woo.
Hey, I didn't say it, so you have to stay.
Dalen walked back and forth, battling with
Guys?
himself before finally stopping. Then maybe just don't
aim so high. Don't lead people. Just remain one man, helping one person at a time, and fighting back darkness where I find it. I could do that and not fall back into darkness, couldn't I?
Dalen looked to the sun, shading his eyes with the hand from the ever-present light of the world shining beyond the universe. That purpose within him burned once more.
If this is what you wanted me, very well. I'll live out this life as you would have it. I just hope I'm up to the task.
Ares,
had a lot of work
I
ahead
do
of
not
him.
know. They've yet to answer why he's decided he was a good guy now.
Yep. He had a lot of work ahead of him. A whole lifetime's worth, in fact. And one of the first things to choose was where to start. Hunt down the pirates from the floating isles? Fight the crime syndicates? End human sex trade? After all, who better to hunt down the evil of the world than the vilest man who had ever lived? Literally anyone else.
Anyone, yeah. Like
Literally anyone else.
Literally
Were
anyone
you the
else.
violent? Okay,
Guys.
we'll get to we're almost there. We're almost
We
there.
have several sentences left this chapter.
Yep.
we're so close.
And then, of course, there was the Shade. Sure, the knights focused on those monsters, but they wouldn't object to some help. Light. Dalen might even join the knights, eventually. Yes, he did indeed have a lot of work ahead of him. And surprisingly, Dalen looked forward to it.
No, you don't! Fucking hell, you don't! You spent this entire chapter bitching about how you're alive! And then saying you can't kill yourself, despite the fact you just tried to kill yourself. Okay, so one thing that I want to point out here is when I wrote The Artificer, one of the things that I wanted to do, and even though it wasn't a very serious book, one thing that I kept in mind is when a character is given a new power set and ability, they need to fuck up when they first use it. They need to figure it out. It takes Kraft a little while to actually get used to his ability. He figures it out within a day because he's playing around with it. But at the same time, in the process of learning about it, he exhausts himself to passing out before he can even fall into the bed that he made. and he poisons himself by making a porridge out of poisoned berries. These are things that I intentionally put in there because fucking up is part of the process of learning any new skill. It's learning 101, not even writing 101. It's learning 101. You fuck up first before you get shit done. Also, when you give a character a boon, you must also give them a detriment in some way, shape, or form. For Craft, it was always, hey, you can use his ability, but you have to actually level up your endurance. You have to train your strength and body because it actually saps it as though you had done that work in that instantaneous amount of time. Basically, you do an entire day's work with that magic power of yours, your body treats it as if you had done the entire day's work. If you overdo it, and you overtax your body, you pass out. I had that very firm rule put into my mind. You've gotten yourself a brand new body here with no consequences whatsoever. You are still young and dashing. If I had been in charge of this, I would have given him his youthful body, but it would have been deformed. There would have been something wrong with him. Not only would it be more visually iconic in some way, shape, or form, but it would introduce a new challenge for him in order to actually go about his mission.
You know the easy way to fix this, Celtic?
Not
all the paragraphs of him thinking, I'm testing all this while I'm falling down. Have him hit the barrier, get youthful, pass out, someone else saves him, and he wakes up with the new youthful body, and he has to figure out shit in the middle of a dangerous situation, like someone is trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes!
Or
yes!
hear me out. Just have a character in, he gets rescued by one of those rescue ships they talk about, which would be a natural part of it. And he's sitting there and he's like, oh, I have all these abilities now. I should start testing them out and practicing in a safe, controlled environment, as any one person would naturally do. But before he can get through all the testing, that's when he gets through the dangerous situation. So he has to be like, well, I've been thinking about this and experimenting in private in a safe environment, but now I'm on the fly and I really have to push things. Now I got to see what the limits are. That's natural.
Celtic, are you a writer or something?
No, I'm just some random schmuck on the internet.
He's
That's
just
fair.
a man.
Same.
If I might also offer, I think a potential avenue would be just leave him as an old man and let him try to find redemption with the time he has left.
I was going to say, you could make him youthful, but still have all the trappings of an old man. He's some kind of weird Benjamin Button type. That would be an interesting thing. Mr. Knight says, I'm going to try super hard to not do the rapey-wapey this time, guys. I promise. I swear, no takesy backsies.
How dare you say
that? Oh boy, here I go dictatoring again.
I promise I won't girl boss too close to the sun this time.
Okay, and also I know I'm kind of hijacking this, but I have so many thoughts building up through this. Were you intent on doing good? If at what point then, how did you start doing bad? At what point did you fall down the slippery slope of becoming the monster through good intentions? Is that what happened? If so, you are not the most vilest man on the planet. You had good intentions, you ended up fucking up badly. But if you were unrepentant, which would be what makes you the most vilest man ever, at what point, what shifted you from the vilest man ever into someone who was guilt-ridden about it? You haven't answered any of these questions, and they are not small questions. They are vital to understanding this character and understanding why we should give a shit about anything that he's doing.
Yet again, it still seems like he's only guilty because he was caught.
And
I don't know. I don't even know that. I have no idea what the fuck happened.
You say all that, and I'm just urged to spoil for funny reasons. Rising.
Yeah. We're both sitting here like Jim from The Office. Which
yeah.
I apologize now, but Twy had something she wanted to say, and I'm going to give her the floor because Jesus Christ.
Everybody, yes, please.
Oh. It was just a small little thing, just going back to when you were talking about the artificer, specifically when you were talking about how Kraft got poisoned, and I was like, "Do you remember my commentary when I beta read that for you?"
Oh.
No, I don't.
Ooh.
No,
Ooh.
that it was a whole ass like rant, just talking to Kraft as though I was right there with him, explaining to him
I vaguely
how
remember
to test
that
for poison.
Yeah, but like he didn't know any of that shit because he's a fucking neat.
I'm just
Yeah,
right
exactly.
here. I'm just right here, just like Twilight was like, no, well, let me explain.
Yeah.
Just meant, you are a moron, good sir.
Right, you're the one. I like. Weirdly enough, I never learned about like rubbing the berries to your lips. I never learned about that in Boy Scouts, and I should have.
No, that's a thing.
Yeah, no, he's saying that I was the one that taught him that because of me talking to Kraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, which actually makes it a very good way of adding in a little bit of world building. The writer didn't know it, now he does, now he can teach it to the character.
Yeah.
Anyway, was there any more you wanted to say on that, Twi, before we let the other people have the floor for a little bit?
No, the other people can have the floor. I just wanted to make my silly little comment about the artificer.
My comment is just, if I can shamelessly self-plug, if you want to have a character who is like actually remorseful and regrets their actions and ran away from their responsibilities, read Caliburn Chronicle, because Arthur has an entire story arc around that, and I've been told that it's been done pretty well.
And a test. Very good.
Thank you.
It sounds very tempting.
I really hate how much the story makes me want to write a story similar to it to write it well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
do
get
it.
Speaking on that lines,
doing with fixing Ruby though.
I'm
Speaking on that lines, you said Zero?
Well, yeah, I was gonna wait for them to go. But if no one is like speaking on those lines, I remember when I was reading through this, the idea that hit my head immediately, like every single time as he's talking about wanting to die and everything, the thing that was going through my head was you could have leaned into this of this guy is trying to take every single chance he can to kill himself, and it's some sort of godly irony that he just can't do it. He is trying his hardest, and it would reinforce in some way that, oh, maybe God is keeping me alive, but I'm so pissed off at this God for keeping me alive because I just want to kill myself.
Oh my God, you can have an entire comedy sequence where he runs up to a person
exactly what,
and literally like just insulted, like, and you know what? I fucked your mom after she gave you a blowjob in the morning. It's like, wait, what the fuck? I just say this ridiculous, insulting shit. Get someone
That's exactly
riled up.
what I was like. That's it would make so many of his scenes where he tries to fight, like that opening scene where he tries to fight a dude that has a dueling thing. He knows he's old. He knows he's gonna lose. Okay, I'm gonna fight this guy, and he's gonna kill me. At least I can go on my own terms of fighting in a duel. And then, out of some way, he wins, and he's like, "What the fuck? No, come kill me. I don't want to win. Please kill me. No, I can't kill you. You won the duel. You won the duel."
If I might offer an alternative, the guy's just like, dude, I'm not 5. I'm not doing this playground bullshit. I'm not going to kill you because you insulted my mother.
That too, or just even along the lines of, I'm not going to fight an old man. Where's the honor in fighting an old man?
Well, no,
what is this?
This is after he becomes young. Like he still wants to die. He's like, oh my god.
Oh no, yeah, I'm still wrapped on the first part. Like even still, like there's
like,
so much that can be improved if you
me.
play into this irony that he wants to die, but God won't let him. Fuck, why?
He's like forcibly trying to tie the fucking red band on someone's shoulder. He's like, duel me, damn it.
I want to imagine, like, after a while, I was like, is this... I finally understand. You want me to live a life of repentance. Nah, man, I just thought it'd be funny. I just do shit like this
The idea of a
sometimes.
character afraid of the afterlife after he's like, oh my god, God is real. Like, I thought I was going to die and go to blackness. Oh no, a God is real and he's keeping me alive for punishment. Fuck, I gotta die. Or do I need to die? Like, him being panicked about that? God. So many good ideas you could run with. There's so much there. Like, I could see this being comedic. I could see this being thought-provoking and deeply insightful about the nature of someone, like, like having fallen it from grace and become a horrible monster, and then like in their twilight years, no pun intended, being like remorseful and realizing the error of their ways and being given a second chance and reflecting upon that. There's so many different aspects to take, and he chose every single worst option possible. It's kind of an impressive speed run in that regard.
I actually find this book, weirdly enough, kind of a gift to writers everywhere, because I think everyone sees the greater potential of a story like this in one form or another, and if it inspires someone to make a better story, kind of have to help it for it.
Was it more about reading bad books to become better writers?
This book is a great a great trailblazer for, okay, I don't know how to world build. What should I avoid? Hey, let me pick up this book. Now I know what to avoid.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap things up here. Oh, but
Aiden wants me to say "ooh woo" in my little girl voice.
Go for it.
I'm deafening.
No,
Yay.
please no.
Hello.
All right. With that, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a fun time. I know I did, and oh my god, we went late.
We did.
Join us next week as we continue into chapter 4, I believe. Yeah, that's going to be fun. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll catch you all